We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jump ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Let me add this change. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of innovation. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single country. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is that not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparationist Perspective, bringing you those Freedman hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, we're back with an epic, yet another epic broadcast, because we are now in the midterm season and we don't have time to dawdle on this issue of Freedman interest over party lines, lies, and benign neglect. I see you, YVOC Info. Thank you for joining the live. And for those of you who are joined in the Twitter and Facebook spaces, I welcome you one and all. If you'd like to be acknowledged and you'd like to participate as my co-host, please log into the live feed over at ScrewTube. Once again, family, this topic is critical, family, because we are sheep walking to these polls, voting blue no matter who, helping the Democrats to replace us with immigrants. Brian C. Johnson, I see you, family. Thank you so much for joining the live. Yes, it's not just the roof that is on fire, family. We are individually on fire. And if you have yet to read Back of the Hiring Line by Roy Beck, or Ron Beck, I can't recall. We'll get into it. You've got to read how these glacier donkeys have been plotting for our ethno-genocide since Reconstruction. Family, this story is so deplorable. It takes what I've been screaming for the last couple of years to a whole nother level when you see Mr. Roy Beck outline from Reconstruction through present day how we've been legislated to the bottom of the Titanic as the anchor of this country's capitalism, with the weaponization of immigration leveled against us. And it has ultimately cost us 20 million Black babies by way of abortion. I'm with Marcel Dixon, who is running in South Carolina to unseat Jim Clyburn in District 6. The Republicans, I'm trying to keep it clean so folks will take me seriously. I can't promise that I will. But the Republicans are pro-birth. Marcel Dixon is pro-life, meaning you can't just be about us having our babies and you don't give them the rights to be American. They have yet the right to be American. That's why it's cost 20 million of our children have been given back to God, because these Democrats and Republicans alike have been really, really working to ethno-genocide Freedman. We're going to get into it because I only have Black Diamond for an hour. This is a heavy meeting day for the movement. Meetings from the time I depart with you all the way into the evening. So let's get into it. Welcome, Black Diamond. Thank you for being my co-host today. I appreciate you coming back on.
Thank you. And I mean, as always, thank you for taking the time to love our people so much that we have to have these very, very raw, candid conversations. Let's go ahead. Let's jump in it. Let's get this job done.
Wonderful. Thank you. So let's go. So here we go. I want to talk with you guys. We're going to do this in some type of order. We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about the political grifts that are coming your way to a home television near you. It's about to get live and in living color with how they're going to double down on the grift to get us sheep walking to the polls this midterm election. And I'm going to share with you the Freedman voter strategy that I would love for you to consider helping us to grow this to critical mass. And so let's jump right in. So this is a CNN article I have up here. And we're dealing with this article because it's dealing with, here are the executive actions Biden signed in his first 100 days. So let me share the screen. Because while I can't go through everything because I'm losing Black Diamond in an hour, I do want to talk about all the ways in which Biden has undermined and overturned what Trump had put into place to stave off immigration. Okay, he did this to stave off immigration, and the corporate mainstream media convinced you that our people, 87% of our electorate who voted for the Biden administration, that Trump was more of a racist than Biden. Let's get into it. Hold on, let me share it so we can scroll through this together. Can you see that? Let me make sure you can still see me. Let's see here. Let me do it this way. No. There we go. So let's scroll through here. Here are the executive actions Biden signed in his first 100 days. So pay attention. I'm going through. And then we'll get Black Diamond to weigh in. So let's read the intro. President Joe Biden signed a flurry of executive actions in his first 100 days in office, primarily aimed at curbing the coronavirus pandemic and dismantling many of former President Donald Trump's policies. The executive actions include halting funding for the construction of Trump's border wall, stick a pin in it, reversing Trump's travel ban targeting largely Muslim countries, imposing a mask mandate on federal property, ramping up vaccination supplies, canceling the Keystone XL pipeline, ending federal use of private prisons, and reversing Trump's ban on transgender Americans joining the military. In his first 100 days in office, Biden signed more than 60 executive actions, 24 of which are direct reversals of Trump's policies. 24 of which are direct reversals of Trump's policies. Biden has defended the number as necessary to undo what he considers bad policy inherited from Trump, especially on what? Immigration. To date, 10 of his 12 actions on immigration are reversals of Trump's policies. And I want to make it clear, there's a lot of talk with good reason about the number of executive orders that I've signed. I'm not making new law. I'm eliminating bad policy. Biden said as he signed a series of actions on immigration from the Oval Office on February the 2nd. What I'm doing is taking on the issues that 99% of them, that the president, the last president of the United States, issued executive orders I felt were very counterproductive to our security, counterproductive to who we are as a country, particularly in the area of what? Immigration. This is the same president who said, you had my back and delivered me the White House and I'd have yours. So let's scroll down and I'm going to let Black Diamond speak on it. See Biden's first 100 days of executive actions below. Okay, so here we go. They label it Biden focuses on virus overturning Trump policies here. Okay, but when you look at what Biden focused on, okay, now the red are reversals, family. The gray is other executive actions. So look at what he did to help immigrants in order to ethno-genocide Freedman to deny us our justice claim. You see, family, reparations is not welfare. Okay? I've been in circles as of late where our educated lames are talking against reparations as if we're asking for a handout. No, this is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives, including the weaponization of immigration against Freedmen to make us a permanent bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with that life. Look at what he did for immigration. And now he's opening up the country and giving away our reparations to this particular group. So over here on the right side, Biden takes early lead on executive action. So far, Biden has signed more executive orders and memorandums than any of his last three presidents when comparing how many each had published in the Federal Register through April 30 of their first year in office. These do not include corrections or clerical memos, which include delegations, designations, and certifications. Look at what this man has done. 52 compared to Trump's 39, compared to Obama 34, compared to Bush's 13. And not one of these executive orders is designed to give freedmen protections, social justice, nor economic inclusion. As a matter of fact, Jen Psaki recently doubled down because they know that their seat is under threat. They know that they're losing. Their polls are in the toilet. She doubled down, family. And she said Biden was never for defunding the police. I thought I heard him say that on the campaign trail. But he speaks with a forked tongue. Remember, I always tell you the greatest trick the devil ever played was to make you believe he didn't exist. Biden was for defund the police. And then in the next breath, he was for sending millions to the police forces throughout the country. Who is that designed for, family? Freedmen. Freedmen, who've been legislated to the bottom of this Titanic as the anchor of capitalism. Black Diamond, I'd like for you to weigh in.
So all that you said is absolutely correct. The one thing that I think is really important, one, I would encourage everyone to go out, either download the book or go out and purchase the book, Back of the Line. What was it called? It was
Back of the Hiring Line.
Yeah, Back of the Hiring Line by Roy Beck. Because in that book, he paints it so clear for us as to what our real mission is. And as we discussed last week, we discussed what was our imminent threat as it relates to this midterm election. We have to recognize immigration is our imminent threat to our total existence. And I know people might think and say, you know what, why is that such a big issue for us right now? We have other pressing issues. There is no other pressing issue like immigration. When you go and you start to research how mass immigration has affected us, what you find is over almost 61% of our Black men are unemployed, and they've been replaced by immigrants. When we look at the fact that Biden himself makes sure that the Democratic goal of replacing us is met at all costs, they are not even concerned with the fact that they know that immigrants typically vote Republican once they hit $50,000 a year. They're not concerned with that. They are banking on one thing and one thing only, and that is our sheer ignorance. They are banking on us to remain ignorant and to remain blindly loyal to them at our own demise. When we look at the fact that immigration has over the past 20 years, and we look at the mass immigration and how it has affected us, the bottom line is it's $500 million lost to our community when it comes to immigration, mass immigration. And so when we really sit back and we are all talking about reparations, we're all fighting for our justice claim. Our justice claim is tied to this mass immigration in that they are going to always, now they're going to use inflation because they're going to always say they don't have money to pay us. It's too many of us. And yet they have money. When you look at how much Biden has done with a stroke of a pen for this executive order, when we look at this, we realize, wait, we already know that America has money because they are a self-currency creating country. Wait, they're not concerned about inflation. I mean, look at us right now. What are we in, 7% inflation right now? But guess what? They are still overwhelmingly providing resources, financial resources to the immigration population. And we have got to sit back and look at that. We have got to sit back and look at, even in our local states. I did a study here in the state that I live in, and I wanted to see how many of the state departments had subsequent departments that were specifically for immigrant services. And then to take it even a step further, that focus on people of Hispanic and Latin descent. Every state department inside of the state that I live in has a subsidized department that is specifically for them. So when I looked at that, then I said to myself, okay, what would be the justification for that? We already know what the Democrats' agenda is. We got that. And my state, unfortunately, is a historically blue state. But I'm thinking to myself, what is the point of them focusing so hard on their needs? Let me compare their disparities against Freedman's disparities. What I found was that we were 30% more facing disparities than they were. And yet we don't have Spanish-speaking commercials running for us. And yet we don't have departments specifically for us to address the needs of our community. So why is it such a red flag for the entire United States and your state specifics to focus in on immigrants and their needs? Because it is the agenda to, as Angela said, as you said, sister, it is their agenda to completely wipe us off of the map, and they are using immigration for it. And if we don't realize that the only way that we can really preserve ourselves and really have a real fight when it comes to reparations is we must stop mass immigration, and we have to vote, whether you feel like it is against our interests or for our interests. No matter what someone says about low income, undeserved communities and so forth, we have got to recognize we must vote for these closed borders. If we don't, we have basically put the nail in the coffin for our demise here.
Well,
So
let me
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just love what you're sharing, but you're jumping to the end, which is a strategy. I know you've got to go in a few minutes, but I want to take our time with this because I really need them to see and understand what's going on here. I need to paint the picture. So stick a pin in this graph in your head, okay? Now, I can't read you every article in the namesake of time because we have a meeting in about 40 minutes. But we're going to continue to sound the alarm with this voter strategy. We're going to continue to sound the alarm. I see you, Aaron Braxton. What a beautiful brother I met last night at an awesome B-Day turn up. Shout out to JBO. It was her birthday, and she had some lovely energy at that party. And this brother, we got engaged in what I'm doing to push for reparations on the statewide level and the federal level. And listen, he's about that life. He jumped right on over in here, and I'm so blessed to have you on the live. Let me just shout out a couple more of my people. Perfect Ochiko. I see you, family. Brian Johnson, you're always an amazing co-host here. Let's see here, YBOC Info. And for those of you who have yet to sign in, where you're viewing from, welcome to the live, one and all. So I'm just going to start sharing a couple of articles. I can't unpack them all, but I want you to see, family. We have got to, first of all, like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and help us with this work, okay? My Cash App is scrolling on the bottom if you feel so compelled. I know Freedman Life. You're not always in a position to help, but it does help me to educate the masses. What's up, Erie Blackfire? I see you, fam. It helps me to educate the masses and to advocate for the debt that is owed in the quadrillions over multi-generations. And if we don't do it, there's no help coming, family. So we've also got some trolls. They've already started. So I will be blocking them as I see them. But let's get into all the articles. And then we're going to go into the grift. And then we're going to go into the strategy. Now, while I share some of these headlines, I will also share with you the grifts that are inherent in these headlines, okay? So let's start with, hold on, let me share the screen. This is a Newsbreak article. Illegal immigrants can use arrest warrants as valid ID, Biden administration says. Illegal immigrants. Do you see that over there? Because I'm not over there.
For me, creativity stuff.
Okay. So now somebody wants to talk, and that's not what I want. So that's one. Okay, let me stop that. Hold on one second, because I don't know who's trying to talk. Oh, okay. So you got illegals, family. Now, didn't Trump warn us about the immigrants at the border, how they're just allowing them in here, illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds, and now they can use their arrest warrants as valid ID. So they are knowingly allowing these illegals into the country. And now they're giving them the right to vote. San Francisco, New York. Black Diamond, did you want to speak on that before while I set up the next next article?
Absolutely. You know, I read this article. I didn't know that this was going to be one of the articles that you were going to reference today. But this goes back to us talking about, even when we talk about this voter suppression or the voters' rights, this is what the Biden administration is doing. Now, for Freedman, you can't fly on a plane unless you have valid ID, right? This article is letting us know that illegal immigrants can come in here, get an arrest warrant, to be arrested for violating the law here, and be rewarded using that arrest warrant to get on a plane and fly, and then to return back here. Now, when we think about that, we think about the Democratic Party screaming about voter suppression. Now, if they were really concerned about us and our well-being as far as Freedmen, you would think that they would make things a lot easier for us to access these IDs, because they know how they have always shot us down when it comes to us being comfortable getting legal IDs because of criminal backgrounds. And yet they have now weaponized. When I read this article, it just blew my mind. They weaponized them being able to use an arrest warrant, something that we have always been running from and afraid to use. They are now to use as a piece of legal ID. And understand, that legal ID allows them to get a driver's license. It allows them to apply for what they call an I-10 number, which then allows them to work and to be recognized in this country. Again, we're going right back to the immigration game of mass immigration when it comes to wiping us out. I don't know. I don't want to say that right now. The only thing that I can say to that is we have to really, really deeply get involved in our local politics. And then, of course, it goes to our federal level. We have got to become a larger sounding voice. We have got to start opposing immigration policies in your in your localities, because what they are now doing is saying, okay, your states are recognizing these people are not citizens. They are illegal. They have broken the law. But like New York is saying, if you've been here for 30 days, we're going to allow you to be recognized as a resident, not a citizen of the United States, but you meet the residential requirements for us. Therefore, you are now able to vote. And what does that mean? Well, what that now means is you now are able to shape what is being taught in schools. You are now being able to shape how things are within your local city, not even your full state. We're talking about your direct impact of your local cities. This is where they're able to vote at now. So we're sitting here and we're arguing, we're fighting, some of us anyway, about the CRT theory. They're not fighting about getting Hispanic or Latino or Ecuadorian history in your school system. Why? Because now they are exercising the power of the vote, and understand that they specifically targeted the school system. They specifically targeted the school system. There was a study that I read from I think it was from Pew.org, where it was saying how the racial disparities are as it relates to the hiring of Hispanic teachers versus what they call African American, which are the freedmen. So they now have a 72% hiring rate for them.
Yes.
In comparison to us.
And don't they have ESL courses for them? While they set up
Absolutely.
preschool to prison pipelines for our children?
Absolutely. And not only that, but for our students, we recognize that they are challenged within the public school system. We know that we are underfunded and so forth. And so typically they have created this special education thing when it comes to us, where they tag us, right? And they don't have a problem holding our young people back and making them graduate at 20 and 21 years old just for a high school diploma. And yet they have created a policy for the immigrant to say that they cannot hold them back, right? They are required to pass them on so they get out on time.
Yes.
Now, you ask yourself why. The reason for that is, again, when we go back to the mass immigration and when it comes to the labor market is set up to look for those immigrants. They are not looking for you. And so they have no problem with shoring up what we call ethnic networking, which is the whole labor issue is that the immigrant, they go and they reach out to their people and they say, look, you got to go to this specific job because they're going to hire you at this rate. And that is, and so what they have now done is they've created the school to prison pipeline for us. Our children are recruited for prison. Their children are recruited for the labor jobs. What we may call the lower labor jobs nonetheless, but they're still jobs. And it is still a contribution to their family. It is that is still income that eventually will become wealth as they continue to stay there and they acquire quote unquote citizenship here. So we have to look at those things when it comes to this voting issue and why it's happening. Right here in my state, there are 9 local cities that allow them to vote. And those 9 local cities are disproportionately controlled by them. When you go into the different governmental services, you're required to be able to speak Spanish when they are looking for services. If you don't, they get to file a claim against you.
Yes.
And this is what they have done all through allowing them to vote. The Democrats are empowering them while stripping our citizenship.
Yes, they are. Because the Democrats are the Dixiecrats. So you mean to tell me that the $15 per hour that they bumped up wasn't about blacks getting, more in terms of minimum wage? It was more about the immigrants getting a come up at our expense. Is that what you're sharing?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it was. When you look at the studies, and I would say to go to the Pew research, and you look at those studies there, what you find is that the labor markets are set up for a straight beeline for them. Now, the $15 an hour we thought was supposed to benefit us, but it's not benefiting you because you're not being hired. They have literally set up a structure, again, called ethnic networking, where they specifically are reaching back into their country of origin, bringing members from their country of origin here.
That's
for
right.
the specific jobs of their employer. Their employer is encouraging them to do so. They're not looking for you. So you may get the $15 an hour job, but you're only one out of 400. Because the other 399 people who are benefiting from that are illegal citizens or illegal immigrants. And again, how does all this come about? It all comes about through giving them now what we fought for, what we died for. And we built this country, citizenship. They don't have to fight for it. They can just break the law, come over here, and then they get it.
So
and
you
if
mean
we don't wake up and I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, sweetheart. If we don't wake up and what?
If we don't wake up and realize that immigration is the absolute threat, is the absolute demise. It is not, right now, it is not white supremacy. Right now, it is not about reparations, because you will never get reparations as long as we keep this mass immigration thing going on. We have got to close these borders. If we don't do that, our children are done. We are done. Immigration must be stopped. Mass immigration must be stopped. And we're not just talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about legal and illegal.
That's right.
Okay, we have to understand that there is mass immigration regardless of what level you are talking about. Because the ones who are legal citizens, they also have set up their little structure, and it's called the family chain migration. And what they do is they come over here legally, and then they bring their wife and their children and their wife's family, and then the wife's family brings their family. So it's this whole chain of them that come just through that one person. And when they come, if you don't know, please know that they have already, again, read us. They already know where they want to capture their power, and they have focused it on the South. So we need to pay attention and know what's going on.
So when you say they focused on the South, what I'm hearing is a few things as I listen to you share and drop facts and truth and knowledge, just drop the bombs all over the broadcast today, and I thank you for that. But what I'm hearing is that we have no social capital at these hiring tables to guarantee that we get in. What I'm hearing is that the nation is going the way of California, where you actually have to know Spanish just to get a job interview, while Prop 209 is in place to roll back our affirmative action. What I'm hearing is that our brothers who get out of jail don't even have voter ID, but the illegal immigrants are being set up to be able to vote and take it over. And what I'm hearing is that the Dixiecrats are very much complicit, and that really the only difference between them and the Republicans is the Republicans have now become our gas chamber, while voting blue, no matter damn who, is actually the guillotine. Have I heard you correctly, Black Diamond?
Absolutely, you have.
Okay.
Absolutely, you have.
I want to also, you mentioned Voting Rights Act. Could you please share with my audience why that is a grift, why that made the list of our political grifts since we're there?
So what we just need to realize and see is everything that they do is just a distraction for us. They bank on us easily being distracted. So now we're talking about the Voters' Right Act, and we're talking about voters' rights and how the Republicans are trying to suppress our quote unquote freedmen, quote unquote African Americans votes. The reality of it is it has really nothing to do with us. Now, of course, some of those acts that they have passed in these various states are going to affect us when it comes to some of us being able to vote. But for the large majority of us, we will not be impacted. But what they are doing is distracting us from what the real issue is. And that is what you were talking about earlier, sis, which is benign neglect. That is all this is. The vote, we should not be concerned about voters' rights, because for the most part, we're all citizens. For the most part, we have access to the ballot. We have access to the ballot, and you can best believe that the Democrats are not really concerned about your vote, because they are absolutely unequivocally planning on wiping your voice and your vote off. Henceforth is why they are fighting so hard to so-called protect your vote. They are trying to protect the immigrant vote. They are trying to allow the illegal immigrant to vote in your space, so that you don't even come to the poll, because you're too busy advocating for your own demise. So when we can really see that the Voting Rights Act has nothing to do with us as it relates to the large portion of us. Of course, in any type of law, some of us are going to be dragged and caught up in that. And we understand that, but it's not impactful enough that we should be out here screaming and hollering about Voter Rights Act. We should be out here screaming about locking up the voters' rights so that we protect our citizenship, so that we exercise our vote. Because at this point, our vote isn't going to matter. So what we should be doing is out here screaming at the Democrats saying, look, you are trying to silence our voice through our votes. If you bring in 1.6 million illegal people and give them voting rights, what does it matter if I vote? It doesn't matter if you allow them to vote in my local election and then in my city election where they can affect my school systems and they can affect who's going to become the next chief of police and who's going to be the next seated judge. What does it matter about my vote? It doesn't matter. So we have to stay focused on silencing a population of mass immigrants, legal and or illegal. We have to stay focused on that first. That's how we protect our vote. That's how we get our voice heard. That's how we get respected back in this country as a citizen. They have the citizenship that we still are fighting for. And we have yet to say, okay, enough is enough when it comes to this. There is no loyalty. There is no understanding, and there can be no compassion right now. The compassion needs to be for you and your people, because we are the ones that are being wiped out. How does an immigrant come here and in less than 5 years, they are worth $63,000 a year to your $15,000? How does that happen? And where were the Democrats to protect our vote to make sure that didn't happen? When were they advocating for us to say no? When the Republicans, who have never been our friends since we jumped and switched over to the Democratic Party, but when they are arguing to shore up these borders and they are fighting to quote unquote shore up the voting rights, rather they're detrimental or beneficial, at this point, they have become our unannounced allies. And we have to recognize that whether we want to have an allyship with them or not, or whether they want to have an allyship with us or not, really doesn't matter, because that's now where you have to exercise your vote. That's the only way your vote is going to now gain some type of power, is if we get this mass immigration act and all the stuff that Biden has now did with his executive pen, the stroke of his pen. We now have to reverse that out, and that's what the Voting Rights Act is not going to do for us. The Voting Rights Act that they are fighting about is only going to keep you distracted and off of your square, and keep you blinded about what needs to be done.
Thank you so much for that, Black Diamond. I've been flashing several article titles because I know you have to jump in 15 minutes. I'm going to try to stick around to finish my closing thoughts before I jump. But this is another article where Biden raised the limit on the number of refugees allowed into the U.S. from Trump's 15,000 to, what does it say here? 62,500. Okay. I want you, Black Diamond, in the time we have left with you, to please share the political grifts, and I'll jump in as I deem necessary. I want you to go through that list I sent you. You may have added to the list. I don't know. I didn't get it back, but can you start going through that and unpacking how these are political grifts?
Yeah, so I think there are some buzzwords or terms that we need to pay close attention to as we get closer and closer to the midterm elections. The Democrats know how we move. The Democrats know just the dominant society, period. They know how we think. They know how we move, right? So what they've done is they have now used buzzwords to kind of dull what's happening to us, to kind of make us believe, okay, they are fighting for us. Okay, they are offering us things. So we kind of came up with basically political grip words, buzzwords that we need to pay attention to as we go through these different websites. We need to stay cognizant of when we see them start out with the word African American and what do they call it, Black. When terms like that, we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to some of these terms like low income communities, low income people, undeserved communities. First, they'll start out because they know that reparations is something that is trending right now for us. So they will start out even speaking about Freedman. They will start out speaking about your history. and your ancestors. But as you read through whatever they are proposing, you will see them change the words over to marginalized groups, right?
Yep.
You will hear
People
them
of
change
color,
the
minorities.
yes, disadvantaged communities,
Yes.
underserved communities. These are words that we need to pay attention to. And again, like our show last week, we have to divorce these terms. We have to lose our loyalty to these terms. We cannot read these terms when it says Black, when it says African American. We cannot stay married to them and then think in our heads, oh, okay, they're talking about me. They're talking about us. No, they're not. But they know the terms that tickle our eardrums, that make us feel like we're included, to make us feel like we are being acknowledged. And when you read through it, you'll see Native Americans, right?
Yep.
You'll see that keyword BIPOC. You'll see people of color. You'll see all of these terms that relate to, most of the time, it relates to the economic excluded people. And so the more and more they become more savvy with trying to reword us, but ultimately lump us into everyone else, we have to stay on our square as to whom we are. We are the freedmen. And we have to make sure that when they are proposing policies or what their position is on their websites as candidates, that we make sure that it is strictly about us. Everyone else gets legislation and policies and bills proposed in their specific lineage, their specific ethnicity, and even down to immigrants. Immigrants in themselves means that they are looking at a specific group of people, but never do you get that acknowledgement. So we have to pay attention to these grift words. Again, low income, underserved communities, marginalized groups, right? Black, people of color, disadvantaged communities.
African American.
Yes. Yes, all these terms, as we're reading and we're vetting these candidates, we have to pay attention, because this is how they're going to pull at our quote unquote heartstrings and have us running to the polls to push the blue button, talking about, oh, okay, they're going to give us $71 million to our community because I'm a part of the minority community. You're not getting it. You're not going to get anything. The minorities that they want are going to get it. So unless they are specific to you, please don't read yourself in it. Divorce yourself from all these other identities. But for this midterm election, divorce yourself from everything that you believe is going to help you outside of Marcel Dixon, if you're in South Carolina, and for the rest of us, divorce yourself from all the other things you believe is going to help you, except for closed borders, because that is the only thing that's going to really give us an opportunity to, one, be to be economically included into this financial world here. We are not going to break into it if we continue to allow mass immigration, because they don't need us from the labor pool. We were already locked out. They already prefer anyone else over us. And now we are voting in our own demise to keep the immigrants here. And then we're feeling sorry for them while they're laughing all the way to the wealth bank on us.
Absolutely, sis. And I do want to add that, you are a freedman, and that makes you a Black American descendant of U.S. chattel slavery. Okay? That's the only way you identify as Black, because what they're doing, family, is flattening Blackness in order to replace us with immigrant Blacks, and in order to deny us our justice claim. And they're also, trying to prop the Black immigrants up while telling us to pull ourselves up by our bootless straps. You see, they give our reparations away to all of the immigrants while telling us we're lazy and shiftless and no good and no count. These are all lies and these are all grifts, okay? Not in our favor, but this is what they like to condition and train not just the nation, but the world on, to justify ethno-genociding us to as few in number as the Indians. And like Dr. Claude Anderson said, wait a minute, Aaron Braxton says, I disagree with the disparagement of the term African American. For me, it's a term that acknowledges Africa, that our history did not begin here in the U.S. with slavery. Okay, Aaron, let me address that real quick. The reason why that's problematic is because we've got this fairy tale notion of what Africa really is to Freedman. We've been brainwashed into believing that they are for Pan-Africanism to the degree that Freedmen are. You like to believe that you are from kings and queens, and you like to be in this bubble, this fairyland, and you don't tell yourself the truth, that how we got over here was they sold us into slavery. It's very easy for them to lie because that's all they ever do. They've lied and told you that you were kidnapped. The truth of the matter is Africa owes us too. And you've got to Google the articles. The one woman from Nigeria talks about her grandfather being a slave trader. So many of them have enough wealth from the slave trades to be educated in Europe and then come over here and identify themselves as African American to take advantage of the affirmative action and all those entitlements to walk right over top of us. And that's in every facet of life. So I know you guys are very attached to African American, but who was the biggest pretender of them all? African American Barack Obama, who told us no to reparations while building the office of New Americas all throughout the country. It started with Bush, it ended with him. Go ahead, sis. Jump in.
And I would like to add to Aaron Braxton's comment about that he feels that it's disparaging. This is why we are asking for you to mentally divorce yourself from these identities. We're not here to deny whatever your connection is to the continent of Africa. What we are here to do is to help you to see that when you want to identify with a continent that has 54 other countries on it, none of those countries reciprocate the same love back to you. I've been to Africa. I've been there numerous times. I even have businesses set up over there. And I can tell you, over there, you're not looked upon the same way we see our connection to them. Okay? If Africa wants us to acknowledge them, Africa as in the 54 countries, okay, they have to do something for us. Here, it is your ancestors who opened up the doorway for them to come here. It is your ancestors who fought to allow them to become citizens here. But no one is fighting in those 54 countries for you over there. Those governments are not coming to your rescue. Those governments are not fighting the United States government in your behalf. When we talk about pulling ourselves up from our bootstraps as it relates to the Black immigrant, see, the Black immigrant has a boot. It's their government that they come from. That's why they have embassies, okay? What their straps are the agreements that their government strikes in their behalf when they come here. So they're able to put on those boots, strap it up, and tie it up tight. And one of the agreements that they have when they come here is not to affiliate themselves with the quote-unquote African American. Okay, so I stand by, and I say all the time, we have no love lost when it comes to the continental African, but we have to recognize who we are here. Okay, because when it comes to your justice claim here, you are a freedman. When it comes to your justice claim here, the legislative record and your historical record here recognizes you as a freedman. And that is something you have to stand on, because when the continental African comes here, they don't say, oh, I'm just black. They will tell you I'm Nigerian, I am Ghanaian, I am Gambian. They identify with their lineage. Okay, your lineage, your ancestors are here. Why do we continue to want to skip our history and our wealth of beauty and all that we have done here and go and run to Africa and try to make that our history when there's nothing reciprocated back to you? They are the same as any other immigrant at this time. At this time, the black immigrant is benefiting at the expense of the freedmen. I promise you, if a black immigrant had to choose between selecting freedmen legislation over immigration legislation, they're going to choose who they are going to be benefited with best, which are immigrants. Their family members are immigrants here. They are not going to choose freedmen policy over their own interests, and we should not either. We should embed ourselves in our triumph here and what we have done here, what our people have come through here. We should stand on our history and our glorious, powerful, strong history here. And then when we get to where we're trying to get to here, then maybe we can go back and help them. But understand, America plays the black immigrant against us all day. That's why they select the best of the best there. They bring them here and they shape their minds to do what? To advance the bidding of what America wants when it comes to us, against us. So again, we have to absolutely divorce ourselves from these terms. You ask yourself, what is Africa doing for you? What is one of those countries over there doing for you? And please, let's not go to a specific country and call it out, because we want to constantly talk about this specific country that's supposed to be all about Black Americans. And once you dig deep into them, what you find is they are exploiting us senseless. So I don't, again, encourage anyone to, if you are a freedman, to hold to these terms, because it flattens us and we're not getting anything from them. And we're not benefiting from them.
And if I could jump in, Black Diamond, I know we only have 1 minute left with you. You're going to have to take notes. I can't leave it hanging this way. I got to finish out this segment. But I do want to add, Aaron, down here, you can look this up on the PDF since you're in California. I want you to know from a 2014 Color of Wealth Los Angeles report that Nigerians were 300 times more liquid than freedmen. They were at 60,000 liquid to our 200 liquid. Now, I know that folks are like, well, you can't rely on the data. It's mighty funny how it's convenient to say that when the data is not leaning towards what you want the data to say. I'm here to tell you, we had economists like Dr. William Sandy Darity who contributed to that particular study. Mercer Baradaran, all of these authors you guys know because they have been in this fight through the books that they have authored, okay? So you want to look that up. It's a free downloadable PDF, Aaron, that shows you how much better Africans are faring right here in the state. And I would venture to say all over the country. Their median income is close to $70,000. Our median income, and we are 90% of the Blacks in this country, is $30,000 and less. That's not just in the South. That's all over the country. So I'm happy that you joined the live. I know you just got here. So family, we're going to be very kind to our guest who intimate what they're sharing because they simply don't know enough. We've been in this space for a couple years, not you. You did a great job breaking it down. I don't want our passion to ever be misconstrued. We are passionate about Freedman, and we've been in this fight. Well, Black Diamond's been at it longer than me, but I joined this fight when Kamala, whose own dad, admits that his grandfather, or his father rather, was a slave owner in Jamaica. Okay? So this is what they're doing in these terms, Black, African American. You saw Kamala use the term Black in order to get the Black vote. And now you hear her identifying with the truth of who she really is. Asian, East, Brahmin, Indian caste. Okay.
And again, we have to remember that. We have to remember that, again, I'm going to use my state here. In my state, and I'm sure if others look it up in their state, they may find the same thing. In my state, we have a department that's called the Department of African Services. And when I initially saw this department, I thought, oh, wow, we have something here. When I went further to investigate what the department was doing, what I first found was everyone on the board were of African descent from the continent. They are continental Africans, every one of them. And when you read their mission, it was not about the quote unquote African American. It was about advancing the continental African as it relates to the state that I live in, okay, which is in the DMV. Now, when we look at that again, I'm going to keep saying we are not here to disparage black immigrants from any other immigrant. Immigration is immigration when it comes to freedmen. And that is what we are concerned of. We have to look at preserving us first. And the way you preserve you first is to first know what you historically were recognized for here, who you were here, because this government here owes us a debt. Just like the West African governments who were implicit in selling us. They are not exempt from the quote unquote African American coming to them saying, make us whole. You owe me. And we should hold them accountable. Okay, but at the end of the day, here we are talking about what affects our ability to live, what is stamping us out, what is causing our families to stay 220% below the poverty level. And that does not matter to me if you are a continental immigrant from Africa or anywhere else. Immigration is immigration. If you want to identify as African American in your personal home, go for it. But when we come out into the advocacy space, we have to be specific about who we are talking about. And that 3.5 pieces of legislation at Congress.gov speaks of you. That Field Order 15 said freedmen. It didn't say African American. And if you missed that show, I would encourage you to go and look up the Daughters of the Confederacy. Look at what they said they wanted to do. Look at how the government was implicit in constantly changing our identification here when it comes to how they chose to identify us, simply to suppress what we were due. That's already on the books. That was never enacted. So we have to understand this is not about emotions. The only emotion you should have is that someone is standing on your neck, taking all your air out of you and your family, and you're dying. You're on life support. I'm not married to any type of title. We need to be married to preserving us, to preserving our group, to preserving our lineage, and then enacting the laws that will put on the books and recognize you as freedmen, and our history that recognize us as freedmen. Because that is why we are called African American now, because they want us to be habitual homeless people in the country that your ancestors built. They wanted you to not feel connected because they know what they owe you. They know what's already on the books. We are not embracing that title anymore. Our ancestors are dead. Their bones are in this soil here. And we have to stand on it. We have to acknowledge it. And we have to let people know, I am not Black. I am freedman. Because that lineage, not the color of your skin, not a whole continent, but that specific lineage belongs to you. And there's a lot that comes with it. And we should stand proud and stand tall on that first. And then if you want to identify as something else in your privacy of your home, go for it. But please do not mess up our ability to access reparations specifically for the people who built this country. Please do not interfere with our ability to be able to live here in this country as a full-fledged citizen. Because we built this place. We died for this place. We are the only group that has fought in every freaking war in this place. We are the most politically loving people when it comes to this place. No one gets to tell me to identify with a whole nother continent that does not reciprocate any love towards me. That's a problem for me. And that should be a problem for any freedman. We refuse to be habitually homeless in a country that our ancestors died and built. That can't happen anymore, family. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry.
No, you never have to apologize. I am here for all of what you just shared. It was so heartfelt, so passionate, and it is absolutely the kind of voice we need in this space for freedmen. Listen, perhaps if you have children, the stakes are extremely high. I know that since becoming a mom, the stakes have become extremely high for me. I literally take cat naps, as does most of the movement, Black Diamond included, because it keeps us up at night. To know that our people are so misinformed and they are so loving and caring of all these other groups that are specifically here to help our white oppressors. We have Black and POC white oppressors now, family. With that being said, Black Diamond, it's 1:09. I will take it from here if you have to jump to finish out the segment. I did want to ask you, did you send me the up-to-date list of political grifts? I'm going to finish out the political grifts. I'm going to engage my co-host. Please keep writing in the chat, family, because we're going through every bit of it to get some understanding in this next hour. Was there anything else you added to the political grift page that we started that I need to know about?
I will send it over to you quickly so that we have it. I think we've already covered all of those terms outside of, I think it's only like 3 or 4 that I added thus far. So I will send those over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know you'll take copious notes. I've got a 4, a 5, and a 6. So we'll talk after 7, okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Love. Peace, love, and reparations, my love. Thank you.
Reparations.
Okay, family. So I'm going to finish out the segment so that she can attend this very important meeting that we're hosting to get the Office of Freedmen Bureaus established throughout the country, everywhere Barack Obama placed an Office of New Americas to help the immigrants to replace us in this country our ancestors built with their lives. Aaron Braxton says, I can have a conversation and don't have to agree with everything said. I am thoroughly enjoying this at any rate, and I appreciate Black Diamond and Angela fight in this game. Aaron, and we appreciate you being here. Please don't mistake our passion with us railing at you. We've got an entire lineage to help save, and we're trying to grow our voices and our movement to critical mass. That's very difficult when, let me just make this smaller so you can see me. Okay, that's very difficult, family. When you read Back of the Hiring Line by Roy Beck, you can actually get the book through Audible for free for 30 days and listen to it on your ride to work, etc. But when you understand the trick of these white oppressors since Reconstruction, first it was white immigrants. but their numbers are falling off because they're becoming infertile. And so they have since around the mid 60s start pivoting to people of color. And so, they've got us fighting for immigration against our own interest because that's the nature of people we are. Everyone has been on the tit, and it's time to kick them off. So I'm going to finish. Thank you, Aaron. And I appreciate you being in the space. I appreciate everybody new to this conversation. It's not an easy conversation to have, but it's a very necessary conversation. So I'm going to go back through the articles while I keep this graph up because I had some things I wanted to say about it. I do want you to know another political grift is reparations. What you find with the Democrats and specifically is now that we've made reparations a household name, I'm sure many of you started to hear about reparations on the debate stage. That's our movement. That's our reparations movement, comprised of grassroots all throughout the country that aren't financed and bought and paid for by white corporate dollars, okay? We made that a household name. There is no other group in this country, that, especially the immigrants, that are owed reparations. But now you hear them talking about reparations for LGBTQ. Now you hear them talk about reparations for illegals. AOC wants reparations for her base, Latinas, who are, in terms of median income, they are around 55,000. To Black immigrants around, African immigrants are closer to 70,000. The Hispanics are around 55,000 to our 30,000 or less. And yet now that we've made reparations a household name, everybody is they're overusing the word, and they're using it wrongly because they eat from the wealth our ancestors generated with their lives through the worst heinous chattel slave labor known to the born world. Okay? Even Africa will admit that when they sold us, they didn't know it would be as bad as it was. Miss me with all of that. Okay? So, H.R. 40 is another political grift. You've got an H.R. 40 headed up by Pan-Africanists Narc and Cobra. That means Julia Malveaux, Sheila Jackson Lee. We have been trying for about 18 months to get a seat at our own federal reparations table. And we've been locked out of access while Sheila Jackson Lee of Jamaican descent locks arms with Pan-Africanists who, oh, by the way, A, don't want us to have any cash. B, if we get cash repair, not that cash won't be the only repair, but once we secure cash repair, Narcan and Cobra, two Pan-Africanist groups, want to literally control any cash that comes. Do you think freedmen are going to be able to get cash from Pan-Africanists who believe, oh, by the way, 3, that all Blacks in this country are owed reparations? They literally believe that they migrated into, a white supremacist country, and now they want to be paid reparations. That's akin to the illegals at the border who, oh, by the way, send their kids ahead and now want to blame Trump for separating the kids at the border of the cages that were established under Barack Obama. That's why you saw Joe Biden being in agreement with the ACLU to entitle them illegals. You break the law, send your kids over here to make a case against the government for what? $450,000 per illegal immigrant. A family of 4 will be instant millionaires, and Biden is for it. He is for it in the name of trying to buy the immigrant vote. You understand what I'm telling you? And he's having problems after all they've given to the immigrants. He's having problems with polling with them right now. But let me help you understand, family. We are the ones sitting up here without a voter strategy. They've got one. Out of all the immigration, he's flown in here in secret and set up in various states throughout the country. He's not polling well with Hispanics. What that means to me, family, is that they're not going to quit until they get it all. They're not going to quit until they take over the South the way they've done California. We have gone from 16% to less than 5% here in the state of California. And yet we are 90% of the homeless. And now homelessness has been criminalized in SoCal, in the state. If you are caught loitering on the streets with nowhere to go, they can arrest you here in Southern California. So if we're 90% of the homeless, who's going to jail? They are gentrifying us out of our own communities. The segment last Monday celebrating Dr. King's legacy, I shared an excerpt of Juan Pescatore, whatever the man's name is, at the Freedman's Bank Forum, hosted by Kamala Harris and Janet Yellen, in the name of giving $9 billion to the immigrants. They only referenced Black and African American when it came to weaponizing our Holocaust in this country to justify giving immigrants $9 billion. In Harbor, Maryland Bank, a Black-owned, run, and operated bank in Maryland, I think they've got 70 million of that. Don't quote me. I got a lot of stuff floating around in this dome of mine. This man said on that stage that his banks, because they wouldn't lend to them, has 800 million in assets. First of all, what bank in this country do you know that is Black-owned, run, and operated has 800 million in assets? And the second thing he said is, we're taking over the South. And this is what they're able to do because Biden has reversed everything Trump did to keep immigration off of our necks. And here we are, listening to the Clinton Corporate with 3K News Network tell us that Trump is the problem. And 87% of our electorate turned up to the polls to vote this into office. Back to the Voting Rights Act being a political grift. If our ability to vote was a problem, how did we turn out in record numbers to vote for Obama? They're literally trying to use the fact that we didn't come out in record number for Biden and Kabami to make the case that voting rights acts are being threatened. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have to stand on long lines and might need to wear a Depends on the line. I'm just telling you, we didn't show up in the same numbers as Obama because they couldn't trick us with an African American. We know that Biden's record is the author of the 94 crime bill. We know that he is the segregationist in chief. And Kamala Harris was fourth in her own state of California in her own presidential race. Why? because her record of locking up black men, freedmen, for nonviolent offenses is off the charts. Her record for locking up mothers whose children were truant to school because of illnesses or because the mother has to work a bazillion gig jobs and couldn't guarantee the kid get to school, or the kid gets to school and has no representation in the classroom. So they skip school. Kabami literally jailed those mothers and laughed about it. So she was fourth in her own state. I've shared with you guys on other episodes about the Mitrice Richardson incident. Beautiful young graduate student had a psychotic break in Malibu. I think that's where it was. You can look up the story, Mitrice Richardson, and how Kabami was AG at the time. Her father believed that she was going to open up an investigation. Let me back the story up. She had a psychotic break at a restaurant, refused to pay the bill. And when her grandmother attempted to pay the bill, they refused to allow the grandmother to pay her dinner bill. They took her to jail. And when the mother was called, they promised they would keep her overnight because, say, the mother lived a good hour and a half away from where she was having dinner. And the mother lived, say, like Compton somewhere. It was late at night by the time she got the call. The whole thing was recorded, okay, where she spoke with the police and asked if they would keep the daughter overnight. And they said they would keep Mitrice overnight, only to release her around 2 a.m. without a cell phone, without her shoes, without a car. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Oh. Sorry. Family, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay professional here. I'm trying, y'all. Oh, the stakes are extremely high. Oh. And our people don't see it. Our people don't see it. I gotta keep going. They left this beautiful young woman to her own devices. They released her from prison, from jail. And after promising the mother that they would keep her overnight, and she was killed. One of the white neighbors called the police station to say this woman was wandering around in their backyard or in their front yard. I'm blocking more trolls. I'm sorry. And I think it was maybe a couple weeks after they released her to her own devices that they found her dead. Kabami Harris promised the father that she would open up an investigation to charge the police. But she was using him to win the Senate race. And once she won it, she told the family of Mitrice Richardson that there was nothing to see here. Ergo, she was fourth in her own race here in the state of California. So we had Jim Coon Clyburn help Biden in South Carolina to rob Bernie Sanders a second term of the victory. He was well on his way of winning the primary. And then Barack Obama got involved. These are other political grifts you have to be mindful of, family. You must be mindful of Barack and Michelle Obama being used to encourage our people to continue sheep walking to the polls. You got to wake up, family. You have to wake up. Because our lineage is on the line. I'm not playing with you. You have to read or listen to the audible of Back of the Hiring Line to understand that this has been their plan all along. And we keep showing up to the polls to vote against our own interests, which is immigration as our biggest threat. And so Barack Obama got involved in the primary to guarantee Biden, and Biden backdoor Kabami. So when you see their poll numbers in the toilet, guess who it's not in the toilet for? Freedman. Freedman, who have been neutralized economically, who are on the bottom economically, continue to support Biden and Kabami in the greatest numbers of all the groups that are disappointed. The other groups, white folks in particular, want class-based policies which don't fix race. And this is what is problematic with NARC and NCOBRA encroaching on our reparations and locking us out of access to that table to fight for the quadrillions we are owed over multi-generations. You've got a Congressional Black Caucus that's working harder for immigrants. They are selling us out. You've got candidates who are running as reparationists with immigration on their platforms. These two ideas are diametrically opposed. You can't be for reparations and for immigration, our biggest albatross. It's an oxymoron. It's a political grift. So you've got to get politically engaged and educated. It is far too easy for our educated lames to be tucked away in their multiple six figures while having no wealth, while not understanding that of the 3 trillion household dollars Black folks collectively share in this country, 10% share 2.3 trillion. Actually, it's more than that. I want to say 10% share 2.93 trillion. While 90% of us share less than 700 billion since COVID. So all of this spending power is a lie. It is a myth. And I don't care if you stop buying Jordans and hair weave tomorrow. You will not close the hundreds of trillions of dollars egregious racial wealth gap that white folks killed and stole from freedmen that immigrants joyfully partake in without any interest or concern for you. Where are the Black immigrants in our fight for reparations? I only know of one that's actually fighting for our repair. I'm not talking about the Black immigrants who are fighting to be included in our reparations. I'm talking about those like Tony Delaramie from TD Hip Hop Media, who's always giving fire broadcasts about what the freedmen are owed and always exposing the old Biden administration and all the puckery concerning freedmen. Okay? So that should be a hint and a half for your ass. And for those of you who question my data, where are your people in your neighborhood? Are you living in a Chirac where you can't even sleep because the race soldiers are arming the youth? 200,000 Black teachers have been laid off throughout the country. So you got white women and immigrants teaching our children, whom they hate, whom they detest, whom they lie to, whom they don't take care of in the way that Black teachers once did. Black teachers were your only parents when you had none. They were the ones that were concerned about whether or not you had clothes, whether you had books, whether you had tutors, whether you had something to eat. Gone. They have been replaced to make space for the preschool to prison pipelines. And so now you've got our elected officials scratching their proverbial balls around Black on Black crime and murder being off the charts. This is by design to gentrify our people right out from under there. Instead of bringing jobs and education to freedmen in our communities, home ownership, business ownership, they give our reparations to immigrants to come in there and gentrify us right up out of there, because their plans for us is the private prison industrial complex as a part of the not so new slavery. Of all the executive orders Biden has signed, all we've received to date is a Juneteenth holiday that we were already celebrating, a hip-hop festival in August, and Maya Angelou on the back of a quarter. While he gives billions of dollars to the immigrants. Why? He's buying their vote. And their strategy is when they're earning less than $50,000 to vote Democrat. When they're $50,000 and greater, they vote Republican. So in a minute, I'm going to share with you what Freedman voter strategy I want you to consider. But let's do things orderly, okay? I want to go to my list of political grifts so we can finish that segment out. Okay, so I already shared with you about reparations being a political grift. I've shared with you about H.R. 40. Now, H.R. 40, let me go back to that because I'm all over the place. I'm going to try to stay linear, but you all know it's a lot. And I'm trying to get y'all out of here in the next 20 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be able to, because I want to read these comments and dialogue with my illustrious co-host, my audience. So we're here. Get your libations. This is a very important show. I cannot stop it like I thought I would be able to. I have to keep going. So H.R. 40 is headed by Sheila Jackson Lee. She migrates from Jamaica, and she's allowing Narcan and Cobra to have the loudest voice in the room. And they are Pan-Africanists who want everybody to be repaired after choosing to migrate to this country what they knew to be already racist. So I don't give a damn that you had to suffer Jim Crow. You chose that. Now, you could have chosen to stay in your own country and help your people and fight colonization or fight your own Holocaust You came over here because to this day, we are fighting our own Holocaust in the country our ancestors built with their lives. And so you're colluding with the government to keep us tethered to the bottom while pretending to be one of us when you're public enemy number one. I see you, immigrants. I see you. And I'm telling it. And that's my square. You are the biggest threat. And now you want a seat. You have a seat and will not allow us to have a seat in our own fight for reparations on the federal level. And some scandalous things are going on here in the state of California too. One of the task force members is now a commissioner on the board of NARC, paid. Let that sink in. So HR 40 is a grift. The reason why you see so many people signing HR 40 is because it is a nothing burger for Freedman. They're constantly at these different, town halls talking against cash. Then how do we close the hundreds of trillions of dollars egregious racial wealth gap if you will not give us cash like you've done yourselves, white people, like you've done with immigrants? None of which was in what you did for your first 100 days, Biden. You didn't talk about enriching AAPI $350 million with protections when they are less than 1% that are being executed in their communities by the race soldiers because their incomes are $100,000 or greater. They're not in the communities where the race soldiers are militarized, where the median income is $30,000 or less. That's us. That's not even Black immigrants who want to sit up here and pretend to be you for all of your advances, your civil rights and affirmative action alike, which benefits white women, immigrants, LGBTQIA. There's nothing left for Freedman when our affirmative action is used to give advances to these other groups. And now what do they want to do with affirmative action? They want to cut it off. They want to shut it down. Now that they've used us as the tools for the come up in this country. So know that HR 40 is a grift and that the Black immigrants who are around 70,000 median national income don't live in the communities where the race soldiers are executing us with immunity. Please know that. When they're being militarized, they're coming to our communities, and I've already shared with you at the top of the show that Jen Psaki, press secretary, has already said that Biden wants to be greater on crime than Trump. Haven't we heard this before, family, when it came to him authoring the 94 crime bill? So because his numbers are in the toilet, instead of having our backs the way we had his, not me, I didn't vote for these two at all. I voted green, but I got a whole different strategy I'm about to roll out at the end of this segment before I read the comments. Okay? So yeah, HR 40 is a joke. You've got people in charge of it, and they're signing on it like hotcakes to grift you into sheep walking to the polls. They're going to pretend to be for HR 40. They'll get the signatures in the House, but there ain't no way on God's green earth they're going to get all the signatures they need, not even from the House. I don't believe Manchin and Sinema, who have been the thorn in the Democrats' plans to replace us with immigration. Y'all need to be thanking Cinema and Manchin. And I'm going to tell you how they are really the only Democrats you should be voting for if you're in those states come the midterms. Let me not get ahead of myself. Back to my notes. So when it comes to these illegals, they're getting the rights to vote. They're getting access to the Ivy Leagues. And they are the reason why we have the highest rates of unemployment and underemployment. You've got to do as you've been doing, family. Pull yourselves up by your bootless straps and form a business. You've got to do as we've always done since being freed to die, which is get creative. And you've got to teach your children to be creative. They're not hiring us, even those of us that hold degrees worth hundreds of thousands of nothing, that we're now on the hook for and cannot go and purchase homes because of that debt. And don't talk to me about the outliers. I'm one of them. But to whom much is given, much is required. These are just some more of my notes. Black women in the ATL are now getting $850 per month to close the racial wealth gap. Birmingham women are getting $350, but they can't have a man. This is another grift. To give these pockets of dollars to single Black women. Why? The Black man holds the seed. When you demonize Black men, you ethno-genocide freedmen. Black men have got to be smarter, faster, wiser. They can't succumb to the tricks of the devil. You must make a way out of no way. You have no more time for excuses. Yes, they're looking to kill our Black men and making the government our husbands and our children's fathers. Another political grift. Black women, wake up. Don't you fall for it. Hasn't this already been done with welfare, Section 8? It's time for us to unite. It's time for us to unite, freedmen. Freedmen, women, and children. They are coming for our seed, our Black men, women. We can't keep the lineage going without our Black men. If they're executing him with immunity, locking him up in jail for nonviolent offenses like peddling weed while the state turns a profit, and when they get out, they have no rehabilitation. As they weaponize immigration against us, our Black men can't get employment. And when they do, they make the least. And when they do, they're the last hired, first to be fired. And when they do, they suffer more post-traumatic slave syndrome on the jobs with not just white oppressors, but now POC minority white oppressors. So please know that that's another grift. So, Biden didn't talk about, they didn't talk about in this article about how Jim Coon Clyburn, District 6, South Carolina, shout out to Marcel Dixon. Please, Marcel for Congress. If you can't vote, give money, give your time. Give. We've got to get Coon Clyburn out. And with 57% of the Black vote in District 6, we have a real shot. And he is a real reparationist that's been vetted. He's been in this fight long before he decided to throw his hat in the ring. Hold on, something's going on. What is that sound?
did that already. What about my look? Meh.
Hold on, guys. Sorry. Oh, shoot. Where'd y'all go? Okay. Lost my train of thought. Oh, I was talking about all the money. So Kuhn Clyburn has given not South Carolina Catawba Indians. They're in North Carolina. But he sponsored a bill to give Catawba Indians, whose board is comprised of white $5 Indians, land to build tax-free casinos on. And I've already shared with you that the Cherokee Indians, many of whom are $5 white Indians, are earning between $1,000 to $30,000 per month from those tax-free casinos. That doesn't include Cherokee and Seminole descendants of slavery. The Cherokee slavery descendants just got the right by the federal courts to identify as Cherokee, as those Indians who once owned us, sold our reparations and benefits and entitlements to white folks for $5. They're the ones like the Elizabeth Warrens who are being enriched by these tax-free casinos every month. While Cherokee and Seminole descendants of slavery are still fighting for the reparations they were given all the way back in the 1800s that was sold to white folks for $5. And Jim Kuhn Clyburn has the unmitigated gall to pop his collar, proud of that bill that Biden or CNN conveniently left off the list of Biden's executive orders in his first 100 days. It might be included in the count, but they sure didn't talk about it in that article. Read it for yourself. They didn't talk about enriching the AAPI and giving Asians protections. Asians are less than 1% in the private prison industrial complex. They're less than 1% executed by the race soldiers, but they sure have executed us with immunity. Citizen and race soldier alike have executed us and mistreated us in the beauty, shops, the hair shops and nail shops all throughout the country, in our communities. He didn't talk about the billions additional land and monies that he's poured into the Indians at large. He's not talking about the illegal immigrants that he's secretly flying into this country and allowing them to set up in different states. Hold on one second, guys. I'm going to get to that article. Biden secretly flying underage migrants into New York in the dead of night. Plane loads of underage migrants are being flown secretly into suburban New York in an effort by President Biden's administration to quietly resettle them across the region. Let's go to the other article. Biden buries immigration courts in an avalanche with 1.6 million pending cases amid border crisis. The number of immigration cases waiting to be decided in federal court has increased at a faster rate under the Biden administration than under any other president, according to a report published Tuesday by a nonpartisan research organization. Nearly 1.6 million people have cases pending in the U.S. immigration court system, the most ever recorded in history, according to the Transnational Records Access Clearinghouse, an affiliate of Syracuse University in New York. The dramatic increase means illegal immigrants will wait years before having their claims decided, and that is expected to grow worse as the southern border crisis intensifies. Millions at the border, y'all. Thanks to Biden reversing all of what Trump had put into place. But Trump is the enemy, right? Okay, let me get back to my list and see if I'm done with that so I can roll out our strategy and get to y'all's comments. We get symbolism over tangibles. Although their poll numbers are in the toilet, Biden-Harris will be the ticket in 2024. Okay, so family, with that being said, the strategy is midterms. I used to be red top, blue Congress, but it's the blue Congress that's doing us in with all of the grifts I've outlined in this show. Okay? So I'm off of that. This ain't a party thing. It's a Freedman interest and survival and thriving over all else. You've got to divorce yourself from a party thing, akin to what the ancestors did when we were Republicans and the Republicans would not support civil rights. You must pivot. You can only vote for closed border candidates, which includes Marcel Dixon to unseat Kuhn Clyburn in District 6. Only. It ain't a party thing. If Sinema and Manchin support closed borders, that's who you cast your vote for. And you can vet whomever's running in your state to find out where they stand on immigration. Our very lives are dependent upon you to show up to the polls in Obama-style numbers. Why? We need to send the strongest message ever to the Democrats. We cannot afford to stay home, because guess who ain't staying home? These immigrants who are getting our reparations in our communities, while we get ethnogenocide to as few in numbers as the Indians, so they don't have to pay this justice claim. And if you think getting reparations from white folks has been a tremendous feat, try getting it from immigrants who hate you and who want everything you are, except your plight. They want everything good about you. They want your beauty. They want your brilliance. They want your men. They want your women. They want your justice claim. They want your communities. They want to replace you. And they want to rewrite our history. They are complicit. So if you think getting reparations from the Democrats, whom we by and large have supported, I stopped supporting them after Obama, but we have by and large supported them since FDR. Voting lesser of too evil to our own peril. We are on the bottom of every metric of society by our own vote. So with immigration as our biggest threat, reparations is not coming anytime soon. That's a long game. You guys know this. We must stop immigration by only electing closed border candidates and Marcel Dixon in District 6. It's the only way to stop the guillotine, which the Democrats have been left charge of. If you give a damn at all about your lineage, you will do what you've got to do. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I hope I've made the case for why you must vote only for closed border candidates. Party be damned. So I'm going to the top. Get your libations, take your bathroom breaks. I'm going into all the comments. Aaron Braxton says, here in California, our governor, Gavin Newsom, has allowed millions in health benefits to non-citizens. Not only will that encourage illegal immigration, but we are footing the bill through our tax dollars. You're absolutely correct, Aaron. We fought really hard for Gavin Newsom when he was being challenged by Larry Elder. Why did we do that? Because he signed our bill in the 11th hour for AB 3121. It's shaping up to be another grift. We shall see what the final outcome is. But the task force, which is meeting this week on the 27th and 28th, I will be streaming it live here. Both days, all day, parts 1 and 2. I will be making public comments about the weaponization of immigration against Freedman and asking to bring Roy Beck, the author of The Back of the Hiring Line, on as a witness. So do know that these proposals will be very thorough and very copious, despite Newsom's grift. And that was the only reason why we kept him in there, was because we really need to have him sign whatever proposals into law so that we can start getting money and other entitlements to the few handful of freedmen that are left here in the state. Thank you for your comments. Brian says, this makes sense when you think of what Biden said in his response about Freedmen getting reparations, praising immigrants and their contributions to America. Yes, Brian, you're talking about at the top of my show. I actually, what's the word I'm thinking of? Because it wasn't me. It was the great Umoya from ETM, the mass media, who put that fire intro and outro together. But he spliced in Biden stating that at the debates, when he was asked a question about reparations, he did pivot in the way Brian is intimating. He started praising the immigrants and their contribution to this country to deflect from the question of reparations. And that was a hint and a half for our ass that more immigration was coming under his administration. Brian goes on to say, local political spheres are also opening their doors to non-citizen voting, as stated in New York City, and undoubtedly to permeate to other municipalities. They've done so in San Francisco. It's happened in Maryland too.
For me, creativity starts with...
And that is what...
Like, what if it takes...
Hold on, guys. these ads on this New York Post. I guess since it's free, they want to add me to death. Y'all can't hear it, but it's there. And it's distracting. It messed up my whole entire train of thought. Let me get back. Let me hide it and show it again because I had a point to make. This is why the Voting Rights Act, I will repeat, has nothing to do with Freedman. What you see happening on a local level, the Biden administration is trying to get these immigrants the right to vote, these illegals, so that they can have a snowball's chance in hell come the midterms and especially come the general. Political grift. The Voting Rights Act is a political grift. Don't fall for it, family. Hey, Queen Nirvana. Hi, Perfect. Oh, Chico. Aaron says, both parties frequent the same secret clubs and lollygag in the same cesspools. You're absolutely right, Aaron. These are two wings of the same oligarch bird. I share with you at the top of the show that the Democrats are the guillotine to the Republicans' gas chamber. Trust and believe the people have got to put Trump at the top of the ticket come 2024 because he was a wild card. He was for closed borders. And the Republican and the Democrats alike are both for the weaponization of immigration against not just us, but poor whites in this country as well. So we need someone as brazen as a Trump to stop this. And that's why they were angry with Trump. He's upsetting their plans to replace us. And that's why they sold Freedman on the lie that he was more of a white supremacist than Biden, who was Strom Thurmond's boy. He eulogized Strom Thurmond, our segregationist in chief, Jim Crow Sloppy Joe. None of what he's doing with Voting Rights Act has anything to do with you. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to make you think he did not exist. That is the Democrats. So yes, both parties are complicit because suppressed wages helps their pockets to be more lined. So the Republicans are just as guilty, just not as guilty. They won't be the face of it, but they will support it. But right now, they did not support that Voting Rights Act. Those are the ones you need to vote for. It ain't a party thing. It's a Freedman survival and thriving thing. It's strategy. Look at them. They in here. Y'all, here's another one. These trolls are coming for me. You must like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, family. I was kicked off of Facebook because I tell the truth about the Biden administration. I tell the truth about the weaponization of immigration against Freedmen, legal and illegal. I tell the truth about this country's designs to put these Freedmen-hating immigrants into office on both sides of the aisle. The Republicans just elected a Jamaican migrant woman who tells us we need to get over slavery. This is why I introduced the Freedman voter strategy of closed border candidates only. And Marcel Dixon, who is a closed border Democrat. Aaron goes on to say, we need to realize that this country was founded on and its economy is run by free, cheap labor. It's the way it operates. It will continue to do so by any means necessary. Immigration is their key. You're absolutely right. But surviving and thriving is our key as freedmen, whose ancestors built this country with their lives. They've got their plans and their strategy. We've got our plans and our strategy. And so, yes, we've been neutralized economically, but while we still got the vote, we've got to weaponize the vote. It ain't a party thing. It's a freedman survival and thriving and our interest over everything and everyone. The gate is up. And so is the gig. Speak the truth, says Aaron. Eerie Blackfire. Brian says, looking at the previous graph on Biden's reversals is even more ironic when considering his latest responses as to why he was not pulling through for Black voters. I need more time. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Brian. Hasn't the Dixiecrats been telling us that they need more time? And Kuhn Clyburn sitting up there talking about he's just had a year in office. And you see the number of executive orders that don't include Freedman that he's been able to sign without, ironically enough, not requiring more time to do so. He's not required any time to release trillions in pandemic money to line their own pockets. Freedman barely saw any of that unless they lied, and now they're going to jail. They're using these freedmen who are on Section 8 and getting state welfare benefits, who paid Jack in the alley $5,000 of the $200,000 they received in the PPP loan after lying or allowing Jack or whomever the crack lie about them owning businesses to weed them out, to take away any entitlements, to either execute them, make them go hungry in the street, or put them in jail for the not-so-new slavery as a part of the private prison industrial complex. And they fell for it in their desperation. So it's always he needs more time when it comes to getting us up off the bottom. You have to understand that capitalism requires a bottom caste. I don't give a damn who trades places. I'm saying freedmen are done. And we're leaning in day and night. Aaron says, San Francisco has given non-citizens the right to vote in educational elections. And more is coming, Aaron. More is coming. That's just a start. Because the Democrats have prison in mind for our children. Preschool to prison pipeline is our children's plight and their fate after breaking up the Black family. The war on drugs, this is now the war on poverty leveled at freedmen whose ancestors built all the wealth these Mickey Fickies eat from. It's time to weaponize the vote. Closed border candidates only as our biggest threat. And don't tell me I'm only voting for those who have an agenda. You've got the Democrats who lie about an agenda, And then you've got the Republicans who have no agenda. Ergo, you can't stay home until someone has an agenda, because the immigrants are not staying home. They're coming out in droves because this is the come up for them. And it comes with a steep price, our reparations. Brian says, freedmen with criminal records are disproportionately excluded from the voting process. But you can live somewhere as a non-citizen for a month to vote? Can you spot what's wrong with this picture? This is the weaponization of immigration against freedmen specifically, to make us the permanent bottom caste, to make us beggars in the country our ancestors built with their lives. And we already talked about how the illegals can use their arrest warrants as ID. But when our men are released from prison, they're left to die or return. Which? Aaron says, there should almost never be a requirement to speak a different language in order to get a job in this country. Isn't that racism? Isn't that reverse discrimination as they dial back our affirmative action here in the state of California with the help of Kuhn, Freedman, Ward, Connerly back in the 90s with Prop 209 to get rid of affirmative action for freedmen in the workplace and in education? Now, they can legally discriminate against us by requiring we know Spanish just to get a job interview. And guess what happens when you show up and you don't have the complexion for the protection? You don't get the job, even if you can speak Spanish as fluently as Pedro. Okay? You got nothing coming. You're black. And the way black immigrants get around this, family, is to weaponize their names and their accents. Okay? That's how they're getting positioned over you as freedmen and have median national incomes hovering around 70,000. And in 2014, Nigerians were 300 times more liquid than freedmen here in Southern California. Look it up. You can look up everything I'm telling you. The Color of Wealth LA report 2014. Aaron says, it's another way to legally discriminate against African Americans, aka freedmen, black descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Exactly, Aaron. Erie Black Fire says, it's always been a fact that speaking Spanish paid more for jobs than someone with a degree. No, that's not the fact, Erie Black Fire. You're almost there. Speaking Spanish is a way to replace freedmen in the workforce. It doesn't matter if you're unskilled or degreed. It pays more because they're buying the vote. This $15 an hour has nothing to do with freedmen and everything to do with the illegals and the legals who have position over freedmen, because immigration is being weaponized against us to keep us tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country's capitalism. So the fact that you can speak Spanish, it pays more to give them position over us, because why? Money gets to take over and gentrify our communities. which is why Biden comes up with Lift Every Voice plan, and then it's peppered with 100 POCs throughout the whole diatribe. It opens up with the atrocities and the Holocaust of Freedman, but it pivots to give everything away to the POC, minority, BIPOC, Black, African American. Brian says, Democrats always tell Black people, and particularly Freedmen, any social program that has widespread benefits is something they should consider a Black agenda because a few of us will benefit. Another political grift that you've exposed. Yep. This is what Barack Obama was famous for. The rising tide lift all boats. Well, guess what? If you waive college debt for everybody, especially white folks and Asians who have degrees up the wazoo, whose median incomes hover multiple six figures, where does that leave Freedmen? On the bottom as the anchor of their capitalism. Class-based policies don't fix Freedmen. Aaron says, they can break the laws, come here and piggyback off of what we fought and died for. Wake up. Correct, Aaron? Correct. I'm so thrilled that God aligned our paths at JBO's birthday turn up yesterday. Yeah, this is what it's about, family. Sharing this information to grow this block. Strategizing together, locking arms in our own interests, throwing everyone else off the tip. Brian says, no capital and almost zero networking power in the job market. That would be Freedman life. YVOC Info shares. Also, illegal immigrants are allowed to work as congressional staffers on Capitol Hill. Pretty soon, illegal Hispanics will be the management class supervising over Blacks in the workplace. In many instances, in the public and private sector, they already are. They're giving away the education we should be entitled to. A lot of this is happening right at our HBCUs. It's $50,000 a year for us to attend college at an HBCU. Hi, Dorothy. Welcome to the live, my love. Happy New Year to you. Brian says the mainstream is trying to create the narrative that the John Lewis Voting Act is the reason as to why Blacks are disappointed with Biden. Not. This is what I'm saying, Brian and audience. They lie so much you can never discern the truth. Right now, they claim that we're polling the highest in support of the old Biden administration. How can that be? But for the fact that people aren't tuning in to shows like mine as a part of the new Black media. I am being shadow banned. Racebook eliminated 4,500 subscribers. You must like, share, subscribe. Turn on your notifications. Support the show. Our lives are on the line. I've got a good close to 300 videos about this. And I'm evolving in my understanding. And I bring that to you as I study and become more evolved. So you don't keep sheep walking to these polls, voting blue no matter who. There is no lesser two evils. Well, actually, I'm starting to think that Trump is the lesser of these two evils. He was in support of the border walls. This was keeping immigration off our necks. And then we ran out and voted this into office and want to argue me down. When I tell you, you must get a closed border Congress for your people's very survival. How long can you live on the streets? Over 50% of the families that are homeless in this country are freedmen. You can't be homeless if you're earning upwards of $70,000 in multiple six figures. That is freedmen's life, not a black life, not a people of color life, not a minority life, not an African American life, not a BIPOC life. This is freedmen life all over the country. We are still enslaved in deep recesses of the South. I told y'all to watch the film, The Cotton Picking Truth. I think it's Prime Video. You have got to speed up. You've got to run and get politically educated so you can see the grift. I'm sorry for hollering. I'm passionate. I'm not screaming at you, but this is concerning to me because I have a daughter that I've got to leave this to. And we've had no advances because we've fallen for all of the grifts as a collective. Aaron says, not only is it a distraction, but it is potent, sinister, satanic, brainwashing techniques in every element of this system. It's ethno-genocide, family. And it's been going on since Reconstruction. Think about it. 20 million black babies have been given back to God under Sanger's eugenics programs. And then here comes Biden with vaccine mandates. Let me speak pig Latin around that subject. They will strike this down. They're just itching to do so. These vaccine mandates has cost freedmen the little jobs they were holding on to, or they had to jab just to feed their families. Does this not sound like Hitler to you? Ethno-genocide of freedmen specifically. And the stupid immigrants don't know that when they genocide us, they're next. But they got dual citizenship. They can make this U.S. money at our expense and go back to their countries and live la viva loca. YVOC Info says, yes, the South. At the same time that ADOCs are migrating back there, Hispanics are moving there in large numbers as well. YVOC Info, they know everything we're doing. They're watching everything we're doing. But I can't keep a voter strategy to myself. How will it be effective if I keep it to myself? This is the only way I can reach the handful of people I reach. So we've got to be smarter, wiser, and faster. But like Pescatore said, One of his banks is sitting on $800 million in assets, and he was speaking for 126 ethnicities within the Latina community. While these glacier donkeys in charge watch us chase our tails, wanting to be identified by any other name but the one that is the golden ticket, the one that is in the Constitution. They are so brazen, they never removed Freedman. We've got everything. It's just not been enforced. The only way to get the Democrats to work for us is to teach them that we are now awakened to the grift and to deliver on the voter strategy that I've advised in this broadcast. Those are psychological trigger words used to electrify our emotions and attention. What Brian is referencing is the Black, the African American, the people of color. You see, we used to be colored in our birth certificates. We went from mulatto to colored to Negro to Black to African American to people of color to minority to BIPOC. I could go on and on. To ADOX, which is the definition of Freedman, right? It's really Badoax. Freedman means Black American descendant of U.S. chattel slavery. So when it's okay to define yourself as ADOX, ADOS, FBA, B1, BADOX. But what you have to understand is you can't collect on that when it comes to what has already been written. You can only collect on Freedman. As you saw Kagame and Yellen weaponize the Freedman's Bank Forum to give more of our repair, $9 billion, to immigrants. It's in here. You can find the video. It's archived. Go back and listen. Don't have time for that show here. I'm at 2:29. BB says, Angela, speak to souls that hear. Yes, I do speak to souls that hear, BB. I thank you for that. But also, this is about educating the masses. I've been on this since Yvette Carnell was with Boyce Watkins after Barack Obama. That's how long I've been politically educating myself. So we can't expect for new family who want to learn, who take their Sunday to set aside to be here, we can't mistreat them. We have to love them through and inform them the best way we can and tell them where to find more videos on the topic. You got a good damn near 300 right at the reparationist perspective, okay? So we must be gentle, family. We've got white folks and immigrants alike traumatizing us. It's trauma after trauma after trauma since Africans sold us into slavery. We've got to find a way to make room for compassion. And although passionate about our position, know that many of us are just now finding out. And let's be grateful, because that means we're closer to critical mass. Brian says, not to mention you can be a white South African, come here and gain citizenship, and thereby also identify as an African American, murky and messy. Thank you, Brian. I've got to share another article to your note where Black farmers were used as the mules to toil the soil down in the South, and now They're importing white South Africans to take the farms over. This is why I love my co-host. You guys help to peel the layers of the onion back. Thank you for that reminder, Brian. This is in the Griot. Black farm workers in Mississippi say they're losing jobs to white South Africans. A group of black farm workers in the Mississippi Delta is taking legal action against Pitt's Farm Partnership, alleging they were displaced by higher paid white foreigners from South Africa. 6 longtime black farm workers allege in a federal lawsuit that their bosses had them train white immigrants flown in from South Africa on how to work the fields, only to replace the black workers with the foreign workers years later, the New York Times reports. 4 of the plaintiffs, Andrew Johnson, Wesley Reed, Gregory Strong, and Richard Strong, reportedly did agricultural work on the farm, which usually paid a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. In 2022, y'all, this is sharecropping. And $8.25 hourly for the weekend work. 2 of the plaintiffs, Stacy Griffin and James Simpson, drove trucks during harvest time and have been paid $9 an hour since 2018. The farm allegedly paid the white workers from South Africa $9.80 an hour in 2014 and increased the rate until it reached $11.83 an hour in 2020, per the report. Richard Strong, 50, said the company violated regulations of the foreign worker visa program. The white immigrants were paid more than the $7.25 hourly wage that the local black workers were making. Strong says immigrant workers are being lured to the U.S. on H-2A visas for wages of up to $11 per hour. Isn't this true about what's happening in tech? H-1B visas for them to come over here and make multiple 6 figures. Kamala's people, who I do believe the 2014 Color of Wealth LA report showed them in 2014 around $450,000 in wealth. While we, Freedmen, here in Southern California, were 200 liquid. That's enough of that. Let's keep going because there's a lot of comments. Y'all chatty today. I must have lit a fire under y'all. Erie Black Fire says, we the only group of people with 2 continents as a nationality. That's funny when you think about it. I'm Freedman. Not a descendant of Freedman. I'm Freedman. Owed a debt. Owed reparations for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country my ancestors, our ancestors, built with their lives. Africa's cool, but I'm cool on Africa right now. Bibi says, the 9 West African, Angola, and Congo countries that sold us into this mess have never atoned, nor have they acknowledged their complicit orchestration in transatlantic slave trade. For those of you who believe we were stolen and kidnapped, thank you, BB. Well said, my love. Freedman is on the books and written into the law. Thank you, Erie Blackfire. Welcome to the live FBA B1A Dose ADOX Freedman. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. YVOC Info says Black immigrants benefit and take from ADOX civil rights gains, but always disaggregate themselves from ADOX by identifying as Nigerian American, Trinidadian American, Jamaican American, etc. first. And then want to call me a xenophobe, us xenophobic, for spelling out these inherent truths. Because we share about this government's complicity along with the Black immigrants to mask the failure of the government concerning Freedman and our repair. I see you, YBOC. Y'all are doing great as my co-host today. I thank you so much. You see, this is why I don't have a phone line right now for you guys to call into the show, because I couldn't get through all of this on a phone call with each of you. We'd be here tomorrow. So your comments are greatly appreciated as the co-host of TRP. Thank you. Erie Blackfire says, all foreigners get a hand up when they come to this country with our reparations that they keep telling us they can't spend on us because we're too large a group. Where would we begin? You know right where to begin. Because you've been giving away our reparations since Johnson took away the 40 acres and a mule and gave white immigrants and white slaveholders the Homestead Act for a 100-year head start. You've been giving it away ever since. And we're not going anywhere. And we thank God for social media to expose you as the Democrats and the Republicans you are. This is about Freedman interests over party lines, lies, and benign neglect. Exactly. You cannot have your proverbial house on fire and reasonably go over to a brother who is being inconvenienced from flash flooding. Brian, you are just such a wordsmith. Erie says they're bold enough to even tell you that they are here to replace you. Okay. Calling you akata, calling you lazy, shiftless, no good, no cow. Pull yourself up by your bootless straps. They have bought right into the white oppressors, white supremacists, racist tropes around the necks of Freedmen, while never telling you that they are 1,000 times more liquid than you. They conveniently leave that out as they're throwing bricks at our heads to take it over. Now that they've used us as the shoes, everyone's used us as the mules, even Freedman. Hello, CBC. Erie Blackfire says, homeless in my own home. We were here before America was even a thing. Hold on, my sister calling. Dorothy Nichols says, wow, I'm loving this knowledge. Fire, right? Wyvok info. Rihanna, the Bayesian singer, disrespecting Dr. King, our ADOX ancestor, thereby disrespecting ADOS culture and lineage. She is fired. I will never buy another Fenty product. I don't even buy her music. A lot of these immigrants are talking hard and fast against our iconic Freedman leaders. She had the unmitigated gall to post a picture that went viral of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. with a grill on his teeth, a gold grill, like a thug. This is why we need our own anti-Freedman defamation league to go after and sue these people and expose them akin to how the USJ do. For anti-Semitic say, which they call everything that has their name in it anti-Semitic, okay? We need our own anti-Freedman defamation league. And once we open up the office of Freedman's Bureau throughout every state that has the office of a New Americas, oh yeah, that's going to be a branch of it. That's my vision. Okay. Brian says, we are a loving people many times to a major fault. Black Diamond is dropping them diamonds. Yes, she was. Always. We'll be back every Sunday at noon if I have my way. I've got the incomparable Dawn Page from Concerned Black American Citizens coming on to unpack her response to Back of the Hiring Line by Roy Beck. It's going to be epic, and it's going to be several episodes because you, my illustrious viewers, have been asking me for a book review. Well, she's written an article that's about to be published, and we're bringing her here live. I'll be back next Sunday at noon with Black Diamond for part 2 of the Freedman's Bank Forum, because we're not just here to trauma bond with you like some of the other shows that aren't doing any real political work. We're here to give you action items and to make you a part of this movement. So, part 2 of the Freedman Bank Forum Puckery will be next Sunday at noon, where we will be able to tell you who to call and who to write and give you the standard letters to help you in your efforts. Black Diamond, Black Diamond. Ooh, what an asset. Now, I can't show her picture because she's very high ranking in spaces that this could cost her. So this is why you guys hear her over the Bluetooth. We can't have Freedman as bright as her be compromised or COINTELPRO'd. So you'll have to look at me and my little charts and stuff. She will not be coming on here live. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to read the comments so I can decide what to flash and unpack because it's so many over here. I really, oh, and when you rewatch this, the whole thing has to render. Some of you have complained that you can't see the comments when you look at the archives. It has to fully render, and then you'll be able to see the archives, okay? We're going on 3 hours. Well, maybe it's 2. What? No, 3. 12. 1, 2, 3. Okay, guys. That's why I'm just going through and cherry picking. Easy Axe, welcome to the live family, says if monies are secured by Freedman, those Pan-African slow taps will give the monies to Africa. Shaking my damn head. It's not going to happen. The reparationist movement is on all of it. Our head is on swivel, fam. We will destroy H.R. 40 before we'll let it be passed and given away to Narcan and Cobra to manage, to give away to all blacks, including those who migrated into a racist burning building. We didn't choose to be here. We didn't choose to be used as the shoes. We didn't choose to be raped, to have our teeth knocked out so they could stuff food down us to keep us working and toiling the land. To this day, I don't know about knocking out the teeth, but if you watch the Cotton Picking Truth, you will see for yourself that slavery is still inherent in the deep recesses of the South, and this Congress knows all about it, and they're complicit. So it's not about who's got an agenda. One lies and the other one never has had one. It's about the survival and the thriving of Freedmen and getting up off this bottom as the anchor of their capitalism. That's what the voter strategy is about. And we have identified that immigration, as outlined in this broadcast, is public enemy number one, our greatest threat, and we must shut it down. And we must stop going to the polls to vote for it to our own peril. BB says, Black mental health matters. Freedmen descendants need advocacy and protection. Yes, yes, and more yes. Thinking on Regina King, whose son recently took his life at 26. I don't know why, but I can only reason that it was some type of mental health crisis that he may have been suffering for a long time. So many of us are suffering it, family. Brian says, we get treated like such second and third class citizens in this country. Sometimes, all the time, family. There's only a tiny percent of us that have luxuries, like the ones many of us who are the co-hosts in this chat are afforded. But the bulk of our lineage is treated like fourth class citizens, because that is what we're becoming with the weaponization of immigration leveled at us. There's about 67 million immigrants collectively in this country, and about, I want to say, probably 20 million illegals at this point. And our only saving grace is that when they make 50,000 and over, they vote Republican, because they too want to close the borders, because they don't want to compete with illegals over their advances. They don't mind competing with Freedmen for our advances, but they don't want the illegals competing with them for the advancements they stole from us. Angela, with you in spirit. Thank you, BB. It's hard to bring this stuff, man. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, when I listened to the Audible back of the hiring line, I literally had to pray to God that I did not throw up. I literally had to pray. Everything in me started to come up. And I hate throwing up. Excuse me. I hope you're not having your dinner. I won't be too graphic. I literally had to talk it down and turn it off. And I still have to go back and listen to it from the beginning, because it got to a point where I could not take the real legislation that has been leveled at Freedmen to ethno-genocide us. It was unbelievable to hear it documented from since Reconstruction. YVOC Info says, yes, my Treese Richardson was in fact in Malibu. The CBC is paid not to do anything for Black Americans. Mr. D's News, thank you for joining the live. Being educated by your open enemy, who in districts countrywide are being further encouraged to convince you that racism was a figment of your imagination as you continue to live your Holocaust. We've got some outliers. I'd be the first to admit that I am one. But as I said, I am a metaphysician. I understand the God in me. I understand the God in you. I understand that my ancestors' lives and blood and bones are in this soil. And I understand to whom much is given, much is required. I understand that God has given me a gift. I understand that I was born to talk. I understand that from knee-high to a gatepost, I despise liars, thieves, and cheats. And I believe strongly in justice and what is right. That's how I'm wired. It's in my DNA. It's not an act. I understand that I'm an empath towards a people whom I love, who I am a part of. So y'all get me raw and in living color. That's how God wired me. The God in me. The ancestors won't let me rest. And that's true of many of you who join this live, who share the live, who talk about it, who patronize the show. I've got a daughter, and I want my daughter to have wealth, not just income. I want her to get what is due her. I want my grandbabies to have wealth. I want my great-grandbabies to have wealth. I want the same for your children. So my fight for her has become my fight for y'all, all of us. I fight for Freedman like a second job that don't pay. When I'm not on this live, I am advocating in the trenches with my comrades. And we need y'all in this movement. Please Gmail me at the Rep Perspective Gmail. When we have email and phone call campaigns, we need all hands on deck. BB says being casual causes you to become a casualty. Les Brown. Come on, BB, come through. Come through, sis. Being casual causes you to become a casualty. Les Brown. Turn down for what? We've got an entire lineage on the chopping block. It is between the gas chamber and the guillotine, and some of y'all want me to turn down for what? As long as I have breath, I will be turned up for Freedman exclusively. What book is that Angela keeps referring to? Back of the Hiring Line, Easy Axe. Let me type it. By Roy Beck. It's on Audible. You get a free subscription for 30 days, and then it's like $15 a month. But if you saw the shelves and the walls of the books I continue to buy, you will come to understand that as a mom and someone that works in the courts and fighting for reparations, I don't have time to read all this. Audible is wonderful. It's animated in the whole 9 yards. Got different voices in there to keep you engaged. Back of the hiring line by Roy Beck. Forgive my non-initial caps here, okay, but you can read it. Get the Audible if you don't have time to read, because Don Page from CBAC and I, we're going in for several shows on that book as we drive the Freedman voter strategy of closed border Congress, including Marcel Dixon, to unseat Kuhn Clyburn in the 6th district. Speaking of which, let me put his website. If you cannot vote, you can at least give him the money he needs to be as strong a contender as we can make him. Because I'm here to tell you, they are already coming for him. And you know the Democrats' pockets run deep, especially in Kuhn Clyburn's district. His uphill battle is like this. It's steep. Ain't no angle in it. It ain't this, it ain't this, it ain't this. It's this. And we need him to win, because he makes no apologies for an exclusive Freedman agenda, including reparations. And this is who we need to replace all of Congress with, the likes of him, especially in the states where we have a majority. HR 40 is a joke. YVOC Info says just empty symbolism that whites give to ADOCs. She's right. Aaron says Los Angeles just passed a law that allows for single-family homes to be converted to fourplexes. This is greatly going to impact and overcrowd our communities by developers. Yeah. Yep. Because the median home price in Southern California is close to $1 million. So they're going to cram immigrants into these type of spaces to gentrify us out of our communities. Aaron knows about, I hope you know, Aaron, about the gang wars between these immigrants and blacks, freedmen, down here. It's been happening forever. It's going to intensify as they become the new race soldiers on the police forces all throughout the country. Mr. D's News says, I have a criminology and forensics technology degree and can't even get a job. Mr. D's News, you're not alone. That is the plight for most freedmen. As the educated lanes want to argue me down that we're making multiple six figures in ScrewTube, as if that's every one of our plight. Can't never run you no data. Can't tell you which is the majority at the HBCUs. They can't tell you if it's freedman black or immigrant black, Latino, white. At HBCUs that cost $50,000 a year, they can't tell you that. They don't tell you that Howard University has a Trinidadian president that makes multiple six figures, while Freedman staged a 45-day protest, at the Blackburn Center, sleeping on the yard because their living conditions for $50,000 a year was mold, mice, and roach infested. Those dormitories are for freedmen. They can't tell you of the blacks in tech, which one are freedmen and which ones are Black immigrants. This is what flattening blackness does. It masks the failure of the government at every branch wherein freedmen are concerned. Because if you've got a median national income of $30,000 or less, isn't it obvious which Blacks are being employed in tech and in all the other industries? If their median income is $70K to our $30K and less, who do you think these jobs are going to, whether you have a degree or not? Mr. D's News just told you he's got a criminology and forensics technology degree and can't get a job because he's a Black man. He carries the seed of the lineage. When they get rid of him, they ethnogenocide us. Brian says $850 per month would still not close this racial wealth gap. These incentives would simply further encourage Black breeding, not Black family building. Exactly. Black breeding without Black fathers for the preschool to prison pipeline and for target practice by the race soldiers and the deputized race soldiers like the Kyle Rittencrackers. He's proven he can get away with murder of his own kind for being at a Black Lives Matter protest. How much more will he get off when he starts to come through and gun other freedmen down for fighting in the name of Black Lives to Matter? All of this is going on in an era of George Floyd and defund the police. Our Holocaust is being weaponized against us to ethnogenocide us, or at the very least, make us the permanent bottom caste. Aaron says corporations are leaving Asia because they can get cheaper rates in the prison system made in America is the new slavery system. Yes, sir. The not so new slavery system. As Nigerians take over the prisons as the new wardens and the new, what do you call them? Not the bailiffs. Oh, the word won't come to me. Someone will type it in the chat. They're the new overseers in the prisons where we are caged. Many of whom are there for nonviolent offenses while the state turns a profit on the very weed they peddled that caught them a case. Animals breed. Mating is what humans partake in. Well, sis, I get your point. But then there were the breeding farms. We went from 700,000 after they shut down importing Africans to about 4 million upon our emancipation. 3.3 million of us, by and large, were bred on those breeding farms. So I get Brian's point as I get your point. Marcel Dixon, District 6, South Carolina. If you can't vote, pick up a phone. I am Bach. What's pastor's perspective about? I don't generally promote any show over here unless it's all about reparations and freedmen. These pastors haven't proven to be on our side. I don't see them in the streets the way they were for civil rights. and access to integration and white access to whiteness. I don't see them in this third movement, the reparations movement. So I really don't care about their perspective. I am Bach, so I'm going to block that because I don't care. Unless you're over here doing the work for Freedman to get us our justice claim, to get us social justice and economic inclusion, I'm not interested in what you're doing. Don't be promoting it on my thread. Go and promote that yourself, like I've had to start all the way over from scratch. Brian says the job market for Black men is synonymous to an abusive relationship where we constantly have the short end of the stick. Yes, sir. It's traumatizing. Even if you were to get the job, you would be the last hired, the first to be fired and paid the least, and have to take the most crap from immigrants and white folks alike in those spaces. It's modern day slavery for Black people in the public and the private sectors. We've got to find ways to become our own economy, family, and we are out of time. Brian says mainstream is trying to aggressively push this anti-AAPI narrative in New York City with the recent subway assault. They never talk about how they assault us. They never talk about what's happening down there with the mentally ill. They want to make us the face of all of their debauchery. The woman lived. But you hear them talking more about that subway assault than you do them talking about them crackers that executed, just viciously murdered Asians in the South. 2 of them. That's all but gone away. BB says, betrayed on your own soil. EZX says, damn, we are so far behind in so many categories. How in the hell are we going to dig ourselves out of this? This ish is just so overwhelming. Yes, EZX. Yes, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming because we have no friends. We really don't have any real true allies. Lots of folks like to pay lip service to being an ally, but you don't see them on the front lines. You don't see them doing no heavy lifting. All you see is grifting off of our Holocaust. But you've got to find your lane. Some of us are fighting legislatively. Some of us are using our voice in the new Black media. Some of us are working on the office of Freedman's Bureau throughout the country, wherever there's an office of New Americas. You have to find your lane and work it and get your allies together. Well, your support, your comrades within your circles. That's what I do. Everything I do is about growing the movement, growing support. And we've got some amazing educated people in these spaces working very hard in the trenches for Freedman to not just survive, but thrive. The only thing Biden's old ace needs to run for is a retirement home. Shady Pines, baby. A window seat. Mr. D's News says, even CTG has buyer's remorse now. What is CTG, fam? I don't know what that means. I've seen that acronym, but please unpack that. What's up, Tanya Princess? I see you, fam. Mr. D's News says, when it comes to screwing Black folks over, both parties come together to screw us. Absolutely, which is why we've got to send the ultimate FU by voting only closed border candidates, because immigration is the albatross around Freedman's necks. When you've killed and stolen all of our repair and you're giving it away to immigrants, That makes immigration our albatross, no other group. Mr. D's News shares he's still locked out of his account on Twitter. Thrive, not survive. That's it. I love that hashtag. You are so awesome, Brian. Here's another troll. They don't want y'all getting this information. Fact, says Eerie Blackfire. Mr. D's News says, let the immigrants tell it. They're the ones that built America. Isn't Biden saying that too? They're not saying anything more or less than what the Democrats are trying to paint and rewrite history, right? I think you meant CRT. Let's go back to your comment. Even CTG has buyer's remorse now. No, that's not what you mean. I like that, Dark Matter. Let's flash it. Immigration is another name for human trafficking. After America destabilizes a country, they invite them to become the new wage slaves because America's intention is always not to pay us the reparations we are owed. Correct, Dark Matter. Brilliant observation. I like the way you coined that. Easy Axe says, in U.S. Virgin Island, there is an HBCU which Virgin Islanders are allowed to attend free of charge. While we have to pay $50,000 a year for undergraduate degrees and can't go out here and get employment commensurate with the debt. Let that sink in and weaponize your vote. Closed border candidates only. It's time to stop the legal and illegal immigrants coming to this country. It's time to shut it down. In 2024, it'll be a red top of the ticket I'm pushing and a closed border Congress. And I'm praying Trump runs again. Because have you ever noticed when the Democrats are in control, the only ones singing the blues, the only ones with the proverbial boot on our necks is Freedman. Trump may not have given us money. He may not have given us reparations, but he sure wasn't giving our reparations to these immigrants. He was building a wall. And in that, he was working on behalf of Freedman. When the corporate news media loves it, you need to despise it. When they despise it, you need to support it. These are your new strategies, your new tools for your people's survival and thrive in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Eerie Blackfire says he watched it. I think he's talking about the cotton picking truth. You need to watch it on Prime Video. It will blow your freaking mind that slavery is still going on in the deep recesses of the South. No Obama and Congress know all about this. Veering a bit off topic, but watch the pandemic become endemic as we edge nearer the midterms election. No, Brian, you're not off topic. You're right to observe that. Another grift, the pandemic. The numbers are on the rise, and yet the corporations are now able to take you back to work after 5, not 10 days. That grift is already happening. Biden has already thrown his hands in the air and has said, you guys go ahead and live with COVID. It has become as common as the flu. Like I told y'all, it was going to become. But he's done nothing as he's mandated the act seen they that has cost us our jobs or cost us our decision to the rights to our own body. He's done nothing to make the gain of function research illegal. He's done nothing to outlaw it. He continues to pay Fauci a grip. Fauci lied about the origins of the OVK, and the Republicans have exposed him that this was created for $50+ million in the Wuhan, China labs, and that it's all a grift for population control, specifically ethnogenocide of Freedman. Yes. And to grab the bag. How else do you explain that these pharmaceutical companies that created the jab aren't mandated to take the jab? How else do you explain that as he was mandating the jab for Freedman, Congress was not made to jab? And how do you know, for those who come on camera and pretend to be taking a jab, that they're even taking a jab or that they're even taking the same thing that's debilitating quite a few people, permanent disabilities, and deaths surrounding this jab? How do you know they were actually jabbing? That could have been a vitamin shot. How do you know? You're dealing with the people who have waged medical apartheid against our specific group since the beginning of time. The whole gynecological industry was made on the broken bodies of Black women. The Tuskegee experiment? So yes, conveniently, all the reports, another grift, will say he's gotten it under control. He's mastered it. We're back to work. And folks will be dropping off all around you as the news reports the rising cases in the newest variant. They decide to march across the stage to keep you in the house and away from the very vitamin D that gives you life. Thank you, Brian, for exposing the pandemic grift. Angela, are you Pan-African? If so, why? If not, why? No, darling. I have never been a Pan-Africanist. The reason why not is because we're the only ones giving a damn about Africa. They don't give a crap about us. And they are weaponizing our Holocaust against us for the come up in the country our ancestors built with their lives while fleeing their own ish-hole countries, as Trump called it. They're fleeing their Holocaust to tether themselves to our Holocaust for their own advancement, while trying to tie themselves to our reparations, when they already come over here endowed with money as descendants of slave traders, and then mark the box African American to get the affirmative action our ancestors fought and died for. They're opportunists at our expense. Dark matter. After Lincoln assassination, Democrat President Andrew Johnson reversed all measures by radical Republicans and Black politicians who were Republicans, because America is a republic, not a democracy. Come on, dark matter. It's absolutely what happened. And they're still telling us to wait. to be repaired and to be made American as they're giving away the country to immigrants. Dorothy says, you are so right. Thank you so much. I will go back to all posts I missed. I voted locally too. I concur. Trump did keep that border closed. And Biden, in his first 100 days, reversed all of the protections from immigration. He didn't do it for us specifically, but we benefited. He did it for the poor whites. But hasn't our plight in this country always been tethered together? And they were stupid enough to believe that their whiteness gave them an advantage. This is why their suicide and overdose rates are through the roof. We know how to live as an oppressed people. They do not. I support you, Sister B1. Thank you. And thank you for your support of the broadcast last week. I sure appreciate it. Angela, what would critical mass look like when we are so scattered? Our identity runs from BA, AA, Moors, Hebrews, African Native, not to mention under the umbrellas of minority, BIPOC, POC, etc. Well, family, we've got to teach until we turn it around. Those of you that are here today understand now why you should identify as Freedman, because it's tied to your justice claim. I too was fooled. I was fooled by Barack Obama. Voted his ass in for 2 terms. Okay? I was fooled by all the glitz and glamour of a Wakanda. It's a story. It's not true. I've been fooled by African American, proud to be able to hold on to where I was sold from. I was fooled, as are many people in this country. And so this is our fight, and we've got to use social media to make these kinds of messages go viral until we if I can get 10%, 10% of Freedmen liking and sharing and subscribing and participating in the calls and, in the emails. I think we're what? Around 60 million. They're lying to you. They're undercounting us in the census and flattening blackness. They're saying we're around 40 million. It's more like 65 million. They're miscounting everything. We are still the second largest group in the country. And that's why we need to weaponize our voices and our votes, because that's all we've got as a wealthless group. So that's how we overcome it, family. Each one reach for one, teach one, right? I love you, Black and Strong too, BB. Thank you for the love. Okay, so Brian says exactly right. We need a branch to claim anti-Freedman discrimination as opposed to having a wanderlust after other groups, trying to lock arms with both our open and subtle enemies. Brian, you always come through with the fire and the smoke. If we don't become self-interested like 10 years ago, it's a wrap. Just feast on my library and be shocked and appalled by what you learn. Dark Matter says, neither Republican Democrats never intended to respect us since the original Constitution, giving us the dubious status of 3/5, yet the Indians, $5 Indians, get all too familiar concessions. And Dark Matter, if we don't put a gate up around these Freedman reparations, do you know how many $5 Asians freedmans there going to be? How many $5 Hispanic freedmen? How many $5 Indian freedmen? How many $5 white freedmen? This is why we've got to get politically engaged and involved. If you'd like to get in this fight with me, with us, Gmail me at thereprospect@gmail.com. Under the 13th Amendment, we're still slaves, says Mr. D's News, especially if you commit a crime. If you commit a crime, you're still a slave. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Angela, for the book reference. Dorothy Easyack says, you're welcome, my love. I hear you loud and clear, says Dorothy Nichols. I will get the book. Like I said, Audible, you can listen free for 30 days. It's $14.99 per month. But to me, that beats Netflix all day long. You got to get this political education, family. Dark Matter says, 3/5. Andrew Johnson, Dred Scott decision, not even a ruckus, changed America's intentions. We've been hope fiends, thinking we can reform America. Uniting 100% behind a black agenda is in order. You better know it. Dark Matter. Well said. Easy Act says, yes, I have and will continue to contribute to Marcel Dixon. Absolutely. It's a must. Aaron says, it's been happening in our schools where they are killing our kids. Correction officer. Y'all, there was a little bit of a blackout. Y'all still with me? I'm sorry. I clicked on the wrong button. I hope I'm still in the right live. Yeah, there's Aaron's comment. It's been happening in our schools where they are killing our kids. Aaron, you better speak truth to power. Killing them. Even judges are now quitting the bench because they've lied on our children to jail our kids. Family, the stakes are so high. Aaron should know he was a teacher at one time, and they forced him out. America spends countless trillions on military, foreign aid, corporate welfare, American imperialism, corporate fascism, Trump's any black agenda. We better wake up fast. Y'all, I got to leave shortly. I got a 4 o'clock. But I'm going to keep going. If these other trash lives can go for 4 hours, I guess that's what it has to be. African American Nationalist Party, I see you, fam. It's great to see you. Peace. Great to see you, Angela Nirvana. Thank you, my love. They share. Democrats and Republicans are both complicit in the ethno-genocide against African Americans, freedmen, Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Immigration is colonization. Charlemagne the God. Oh, that's what CTG means, the Breakfast Club. Oh, he should have been canceled. He's a paid bootlick. He's not about this life over here. This is the grassroots over here. I'm not bought and paid for. Dark Matter, the perfect slave thinks they're free. Many of us bought the illusion of inclusion, assimilation. Come through, Dark Matter. Brian says, the more conservative makeup of Supreme Court justices as ushered in by Trump has also helped somewhat in combating the recent sucker punch mandates. You better know it. Imagine if that was a bunch of liberals. we'd be done. Look at how God working and moving in mysterious ways. Mr. D's news, Obama only got me for one term. I didn't vote for him a second term. I wish I could say the same. Brian's laughing at something. We have to rebuke all manner of faux freedmen. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm still here, y'all. I did accidentally cut us off. But thank God I got to the end of the chat. We're only at 3:32. 3.5 hours. But family, wasn't it well worth it? Wasn't it well worth it? This has been Rich. I need you to make this video go viral, family. That's what I need you to do. I'm being shadow banned, and you heard all of the reasons why. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I'll be back next Sunday with another Black Diamond Fire presentation, part 2 of the Freedman's Bank Forum, with some action items for you, family. Yes, it was a rich conversation, Brian says. As always, Angela, I'm glad you're doing better and got your voice back. That makes 2 of us easy acts. With that being said, family, I've already shared your live. Bless you for that, family. Thank you. With that being said, family, I got to pray us out. I got 4 back-to-back meetings after this. It's been a lot. Thank you for allowing me to share. Thank you for being some of the most amazing co-hosts on the planet. Thank you, Danielle Witten, for joining the live. More than well worth it. I shared twice on Facebook. Black Diamond, thank you. Thank you, Black Diamond. I can't wait to have her back here with me next week. We had an emergency meeting, and she took notes while I stayed here with you guys. You're some of the best co-hosts on the planet. Thank you for those of you who are watching in Facebook. Thank you for those who are watching on Twitter. Thank you for all the likes and all the shares and all of your love and all of your prayers and all of your support. Know this, family. Our ancestors' DNA is what we are made of. We stand on the shoulders of greatness. And these plans are large, but the God within each and every one of us is greater than these demonic plans to ethno-genocide us. And thank God we're waking up. And I thank you. Each one, reach for one, teach one. With that being said, family, as I set us up for our outro, know that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedman and its allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. With that being said, family, know this. I love you, Black, and I love you so very strong, family. Tune in this Thursday and Friday, the 27th and 28th. We're going hard in the paint, family. We're going hard in the paint for those reparations here in California. The task force is back in session. I will be giving public comments at the top of each day, the 27th and 28th. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be lit like it's always lit. Okay? I will be multitasking between court and the lives, chatting amongst you guys as we dig into the topics. Let me tell you what they are. It's going to be lit. The topics on Thursday and Friday. Hold on, family. We going hard. I've already started advertising parts 1 and 2 for both days. I hope you got your notification, but if you didn't, no, just get back over here on Thursday, Friday. Okay, so we're dealing with the discrimination in technology and public health. Public health. All the ways in which they're seeking to ethno-genocide Freedmen. We'll be going hard in the paint for 2 straight days, family. We need you. I need you here making the comments. If you want to make a public comment, Gmail me at the Rep Perspective Gmail. I'll send you the link so you can comment publicly between 9 and 10. It's going to be fire. We going all day with a lunch break, adjourning around 4 or 5 o'clock with a ton of witnesses. And it is our solemn prayer that as California goes, so goes the nation, family. With that said, until Thursday, family, you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your week, rest of your Sunday. I'll see you Thursday. I'll see you Friday. I'll see you Sunday. Until then, family, I'm bidding you peace, love, and reparations. Thank you.